Hello and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and this is my son Henry.
Hi.
And we're here to talk to you today about the 2020 running back rankings for the coming year. We're going to preview the position, and we're going to give you our likes, our dislikes, our sleepers, guys we want to fade from, guys we don't want to draft, talk about the rookies a little bit, and then throw out some who would you rather take at the end of this preview. Before I get to that, though, I did want to mention that you can play in several leagues at rtsports.com. Go to rtsports.com. We have all different formats: best ball, all-American, our fantasy championship, which gives away a grand prize of $300,000. We have a best ball championship as well. Just go to rtsports.com and sign up for a league today. And also, don't forget our real-time fantasy sports draft guide. We have a free draft guide. It's on the site. You can also get it in the App Store on Apple or Google as well. And it's a free draft guide. All sorts of rankings. This video will be in it as well. We have all sorts of stuff, projected stats, team previews. Really proud of it. We put in a lot of work on this draft guide, and it's free for you to use. You can just download it on your phone if you don't want to look at it online as well. So you can just browse it while you're drafting. So check it out, please. It's rtsports.com. And you can click on the draft guide link or go to the App Store and download it as well. All right, Henry, let's talk about this running back preview. Very important position for fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I am definitely hitting running backs early and often this year. Is that your strategy as well? Yeah, I think it's very important this year. It's important most years as well, but I really think this year it's important to load up on these top running backs early in the draft. I think the receiver position is a little deeper in past years, and I'm looking at running backs a lot early in draft. So I think we all think CMC, Christian McCaffrey, he is the number one back, pretty consensus on that. After that, though, the number two back I think has a few question marks. Is it Saquon Barkley or Ezekiel Elliott? I think you can make a case for either. Henry, if you had the second pick, which of those two backs would you take?
Barkley. He was injured last year, but New York doesn't have many receivers. They're going to be run heavy. Barkley's going to get the work.
I think Barkley's my choice too. It's a close call with Elliott. Barkley had 3 straight games with 20-plus fantasy points to end last year. And as Henry mentioned, he was banged up much of last year. He showed his potential when he was healthy late in the year. I don't like the options in the Giants' offense outside of Barkley. I like Daniel Jones. So I think Barkley's going to be the centerpiece, get a lot of work. Ezekiel Elliott, on the other hand, he has a lot to compete with. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb now, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper. Those are some good options. I still think Elliott's going to have a good year, but I like Barkley a little more. I think he'll get a little more volume of work, and I like his potential just a tad more than Elliott. All right, my next question for you, Henry. What are your expectations for Austin Ekeler? I think he was a big surprise last year. He was actually 4th overall in fantasy running back scoring, and he didn't even start. This year he starts. How do you feel about Ekeler?
Well, Gordon is gone, so Ekeler should get more work as a runner than a receiver, but he's still going to get a ton of work. So I feel like he's going to be a lot better this year.
You think he'll do better?
Yes.
I don't know if he'll do better. I still like Ekeler. He had 92 receptions last year. I think he'll likely regress in that area some, but he should get more carries, so that's a positive. But a lack of receptions, a few lower receptions, is going to hurt his fantasy numbers some. I still like him, though. I think he'll get around 70 receptions. It does worry me a little bit. Tyrod Taylor starting. He might not dump off as many passes to Ekeler because he can run. So he's a running quarterback a little bit, and that could take away some targets from Ekeler. I still think Ekeler is going to have a solid year, though. I wouldn't sleep on Justin Jackson, though. I will talk about him a little later in this preview that we're doing here. But I still like Ekeler. I think he's a low-end number 1 or a high number 2 back. I still expect good things from him. I'm probably a little higher on him than most experts. Next question for you, Henry. Who are you targeting out of that second tier of running backs? Guys like Josh Jacobs, Leonard Fournette, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, James Conner, not that elite group, but the next group after that. Who do you like out of that group?
James Conner. Big Ben was out last year, and James Conner was injured a little bit last year, but he's ready for a big rebound season. I think he's going to have a great year this year.
I like Conner too. So I'm going to give you another injury plague guy. It worries me to suggest this, but I just love his upside. Todd Gurley. He just doesn't have much to compete with for playing time in Atlanta. He should get more touches this year. Los Angeles tried to, limit his work a little bit last season to manage his injury situation, but I thought Gurley looked pretty good with the touches. Atlanta's produced some very good fantasy backs in recent years, Devontae Freeman, for example, and I think Gurley's a more talented player than Freeman, so I like Gurley for a bounce-back season. I know he's a little bit of a risk because of the health, but I like his upside. He's a guy I'm looking at in drafts. All right, next question for you, Henry. How about the rookie backs? Is there any rookie back that you're targeting this year that you really like?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's probably going to start in Kansas City, and he's set up to have a great year in that offense with a great O-line. Mahomes either dumped the ball off to him or hand him the ball off for running, but I think he's in a great year.
I like Edwards-Helaire too. I think that's everybody's consensus number one rookie back. That's a good call, Henry. He's going very high in drafts. I can't quite get a gauge where I want to take him. I think I probably feel more comfortable in the third round than going much earlier in that. Third or fourth round is where I like him at this point. A rookie back I like is Cam Akers with Los Angeles. Just talked about Gurley, so now we got his replacement, Cam Akers. I know Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown are there, but I don't trust those guys compared to Akers. Much more talented player. I think he'll get most of the work. He'll end up starting to begin of the year. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield. I think these are all pluses for him in that Rams offense. Rams lost a few weapons. Offensively, Brandon Cooks is gone, so that could lead to a couple more targets for the running back in the passing game. So I like Akers a lot this year. I think he's going to have a big rookie season. Next question for you, Henry. How about some undervalued running backs right now? Actually, I have a couple, so I'm going to give you one, and then I'll throw it to you. Okay. So my first undervalued running back right now is Tevin Coleman. I'm just not sold on Raheem Mostert as the starter there, as their lead back. We know the 49ers like to rotate backs. Matt Breida is gone, so that means it's just Coleman and Mostert, and I think Coleman's going to get a lot of work. He'll rebound some from last year. I know he kind of disappointed. His ADP is just 99 right now, though, so I think that's good value. And I like Coleman right now. How about you? Who's an undervalued back in your eyes?
Phillip Lindsay. He's a third down back. He has back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Even though Gordon's there now, he's still going to get his work. He's going to have a good season.
I like Lindsay, too. I think he's a little bit undervalued as well, Henry. I like that call on Lindsay. Another one, you just talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I actually think Damian Williams is a little bit undervalued right now. His ADP is 82. I think he's a high upside player. I do think Edwards-Helaire is going to start, but as we've seen with Kansas City in recent years, they will rotate the backs. So I'm not counting on Williams just to be thrown to the side in this offense. I still think he's going to get his work, and I like his chances for a decent season, maybe being a good flex player for fantasy teams. All right, Henry, my next question, we talked about undervalued guys. How about guys you're staying away from? I got a couple here. I'll give you my first one. I don't like Derrick Henry this year much. He has never topped 20 receptions in a season. He had more than 300 carries last year. I just wonder about him holding up, and he doesn't catch the ball. So if he doesn't get all those carries, you have to wonder if he's going to produce those big numbers. I just think he's a risk considering he's going to be, a late first round or early second round pick, especially since he doesn't catch the ball at all. He's really, a dependent player on getting all those touches, running the ball, and finding the end zone on a regular basis. So I just don't know if I want to take the risk on a player like that. I'd rather get a back that's going to catch the ball a little bit. And, Henry just doesn't catch it at all. Really concerns me. How about a guy that you're fading this year, Henry?
David Johnson. He moves to Houston where the O-line is not very good. He will get the work, but I don't think he'll perform well. He will post similar numbers to his last few years, but I still don't think he will perform well.
Yeah, he has not looked like the same player since his huge season a couple years back in Arizona. I think the move's actually, a positive for him because he'll get more touches and has fewer to compete with for, carries and targets in the passing game. But still, overall, I'm a little bit worried about Johnson, too. Another player I'm worried about, Nick Chubb. So Chubb had 7 100-yard rushing games, double-digit fantasy points, all but 4 games. But he was a different fantasy player when Kareem Hunt was inserted in the lineup after his suspension. Chubb averaged 19.7 fantasy points per game without Hunt in the lineup. When Hunt was playing, he averaged 13 fantasy points per game. That's a pretty good chunk off that 19.7 total, almost 7 points difference. He had fewer than 10 fantasy points 4 times with Chubb, with Hunt in the lineup, I should say. So I'm worried about Chubb a little bit with Hunt around all season long. again, you have to pay a lot to get him. You're going to have to spend an early second-round pick on Chubb, and I'd rather get one of those options you can draft similar to him around him. All right, how about pass-catching backs? Most leagues are PPR these days, so that means pass-catching backs have a lot of values. These are good guys to grab late in drafts, especially in best ball formats. How about some pass-catching backs? Henry, I'll give you one first.
Okay.
Naheem Hines, I like him a lot. I know Indianapolis has 2 backs now ahead of him on the depth chart, most likely. Hines is still the pass-catching back in that offense, so he has 40-plus receptions each of his first 2 seasons. And now Phillip Rivers is a quarterback, and what does he do, Henry?
Loves to dump the ball off.
Loves to dump the ball to his running backs, as evident by Austin Ekeler's huge year last year. So I'm not scared off by Hines because Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack are there. I still think Hines is going to be a good PPR back. Henry, how about you?
James White. He does have 60-plus receptions 3 of 4 seasons, and Sonny Michel can't catch the ball. White will still get his work done as a top pass-catching back on the team, even with Brady gone.
Yeah, I still think White's going to do well. I think some people are scared because Brady's gone. But like you said, I still think he's going to get his work. Another pass-catching back I like is Boston Scott. He finished the season really strong last year, had 6 or more receptions 3 of his last 4 games. Looks like he's a number 2 back right now for Philadelphia. They like to rotate backs as well. Miles Sanders is there. I think he's going to have a big year. But I still think Boston Scott is going to be in the mix for work, especially as a pass catcher. So that's another guy I'm looking at late in drafts. All right, Henry, let's talk about some jobs now. There's some up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
We have Tampa Bay, Washington, Indianapolis. Who do you like to win the running back jobs in those spots?
I like Ronald Jones at Tampa, Darius Geis in Washington, and Marlon Mack in Indianapolis.
All right, good call on those, Henry. I like Jones as well. I'm still not convinced Keyshawn Vaughn is going to come in there and start right away. I think he might at some point this season, but I think Jones is going to probably open the season as starter, and I think people might be valuing Vaughn a little too high right now. He's not the most explosive back in the world, and in the end, I think it might come down whoever pass blocks the best for Tom Brady is going to be the back that plays the most. And right now, I think that might be Ronald Jones. So I think he's a guy that might be, again, we talked about undervalued backs, might be a guy that's undervalued right now. I agree with you about Darius Geis as well. I just think he brings the most to the table out of those options. Adrian Peterson, Antonio Gibson are there as well. Peterson not getting any younger, looked good last year. Antonio Gibson really is more of a pass-catching back. I don't see him, getting a ton of carries his first year in the league. Geis has more 3-down ability than any of these backs, and he's a big-time talent. The issue for him is health. If he can stay healthy, he'll be pretty good. It's going to be a risky fantasy pick, but his ceiling's pretty high. And we said Indianapolis. You like Marlon Mack, had his first 1,000-yard season last year. I'm going with Jonathan Taylor to start here. I think he has more 3-down ability, catches the ball a little better than Mack. He's an explosive player as well, made a lot of big plays in college, and I think he'll end up being the guy to start in Indianapolis. All right, Henry, I'm going to give you a couple players here who have similar value right now going around the same spots in drafts, and I want you to tell the viewers and listeners who you would pick out of these two. So first one, Aaron Jones or Joe Mixon?
I would take Aaron Jones. The Packers only have really Adams to throw to. The Packers are going to be run heavy right now, so Jones will get a ton of work, and I think he'll get the job done.
I like Joe Mixon a little more, Henry. It's a close call, though. I can see why you picked Jones. I just think Jones was aided really by huge touchdown totals last year. He doesn't get quite the work in the passing game, so I like Mixon a little more. I think he'll get more touches overall. He's playing an up-and-coming offense. I think will be better with Joe Burrow. And I think Mixon's really going to have a career year. It's a close call, though. I can see why you picked Jones. I like Mixon a little more, though. Next one, James Conner or David Johnson. We actually talked about both these guys already a little bit. But who do you like out of the two?
James Conner. Like I said earlier, I think he's going to have a great rebound season. I think he's going to get the job done.
I like Conner, too. I think he has a higher ceiling than David Johnson. Johnson's an older back. Hasn't done much in recent years. I know Conner had an injury-plagued season last year, disappointed a lot of people, but like you said, Big Ben Roethlisberger's back. That's a huge difference for that offense. I think Conner's set up to have a big bounce-back season. I like him a little more than Johnson as well. All right, last one. Two similar backs in my view, Sonny Michel, Mark Ingram. These guys, neither of them catch the ball very well. and they play in offenses that have been pretty good in recent years. But who do you like out of those two?
I like Mark Ingram. I don't like the receivers in Baltimore. This is going to be a run-first team. Ingram will get a lot of work once again. Even though Lamar can run the ball, I still think Ingram's going to get a lot of work.
I like Ingram a little more too. I know a lot of people are down on him with J.K. Dobbins now in the mix. He could end up stealing some work from Ingram, but still, Ingram's starting for now. Run first team. He had a 1,000-yard season last year. Michelle has just 19 receptions in 2 seasons. I know Ingram doesn't catch the ball either. Michelle doesn't catch it all as well, so that's a big concern for me. I'm going with Mark Ingram. Henry, that's our running back preview. What do you think?
I like it.
All right, I think everybody's ready now to go out and draft their running backs. We gave you a good rundown here. Like I said, don't forget, check out our draft guide. We have all the rankings in there, projections as well, bios. You can do that at RealTime Fantasy Sports and click on the draft guide link. It's rtsports.com, or you can download the app as well. Henry, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the next preview. This has been Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and
Henry Paur.
And thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.